Hello, welcome back to another episode of Somewhere Between a Film and TV podcast. We're your hosts.
I'm Erwin Trow. Dude, you can't do that. When you get used to just saying the things over and over again.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I blanked.
Oh, because
I blanked because I have something.
I'm like, did he forget? And the way I was gonna say Daniel Parra.
I actually did. And I'm Daniel Parra. And number one, thank you so much for listening and watching. Number two, what are they going to do?
They're going to like, comment, and subscribe somewhere. I don't know where he's going to put it.
All right, Erwin, enough dancing around. What are we reviewing?
Ballerina.
Sorry, that's exactly what I thought of, and that's why I got distracted. Because I was like...
I love the fact that they put Tiny Dancer in the trailer.
Wait a minute. It's not called Ballerina. It's called From the World of John Wick. Ballerina.
I hate when I look it up on IMDb.
And it says that?
Yeah.
That's a mouthful, guys. Drop the From the World of John Wick. Just stick with Ballerina.
It just sounds better.
Anyway, this is this is pretty much the way it works. This review, everything we review will always have full spoilers.
Yes.
Is in a way a direct sequel, but also a spin-off in a sense, yes. I think. It does just enough. Who am I kidding? It does more than enough to justify its place in the world.
Yes.
And also explain how these things could be happening while John Wick is also, doing his own thing.
Yeah.
This takes place in between 3 and 4. We were talking about when on earth John would have done any of this, but
yeah.
I also like that idea that there's still sort of they even bring him up like he is this enigma type figure where they're like, we hear about you, they talk about you. That I kind of like this idea that he sort of shows up there in the third act out of nowhere.
Yeah.
We know who called him in, but they're like, why? How's he doing this?
Why is he here?
And there's one moment where it was so fan servicey. But before we get into all that, I gotta ask you a question.
Yes.
With this movie, did you love
it? Did
you hate it? Or are you somewhere between?
That was okay. I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. So, these movies, I think, are the pinnacle of modern action films. I think the Raid 2, but I will not shut up about these. And I don't know if have we reviewed any of these?
Maybe the fourth one?
No, not even.
No.
We didn't have we were on hiatus when that came out.
Oh, dang. Okay.
So, really quick, what do you think of the John Wick series?
Yeah, I love all of them.
Yeah?
I still remember when you told me about watching the first John Wick movie, and I think it was like 2014, 2015. And that I was just like, I'll just watch it at home. And then I did, and I was like, oh my god, this movie's amazing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I showed my parents, and then because my parents love action movies too, and then they love these movies.
Yeah.
And I just remember after seeing the first one at home, the last three I would watch in theaters.
I got into an argument with somebody at a party one time because this person told me they don't like action movies because they're boring and that they don't have anything to say, that they're only about...
What?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That they're like, I lean more towards dramas and romance movies, and I was like, what about the John Wick series? And they're like, nothing happens in those. They just shoot each other over and over. And I was like... Excuse me? And this is me being...
But you can even argue with like other action movies.
I think that these have even more to do than just like a standard action film. Like these to me, like
they progress over time.
Like I love the Mission Impossible series, and I love these because this is world building in the finest way possible.
Oh, yeah.
I think that nothing really sort of excels in the way that these do. I think that people at this point, now that Ballerina exists, don't fully understand that. Go back and watch the first one. And remember that this is based off of nothing. This came from nothing. That this entire world was conceptualized by Chad Stahelski and Derek Kolstad. And I'm pretty sure Derek Kolstad was involved. And then David Leitch. And that... I love the entire story behind this, about they used to work with them on The Matrix with Keanu Reeves, and that initially while making the first one, that they wanted to call it something else, but Keanu Reeves just kept calling it John Wick, I think, and that's sort of why they stuck with that. And why do you think that these movies work so well in the way that they do?
Just because I do think it's very simple in terms of like what they're trying to execute in these movies, especially from the very get-go of the first one, and just because basically his car gets taken away and his dog gets taken away, and he just goes on this killing spree trying to get everything back and more, and basically hates the world that he used to be in. Yeah. And so, and like also just like his persona in these movies.
You're talking about John?
Yeah, about John Wick himself. It's the way that they talk, because it's rarely ever him. He doesn't talk about himself. Yeah. It's always everyone else in these movies that talk about him. That gives you you learn so much about him without even himself talking about himself. And that's what I love about it.
Something we also complain about a lot just in movies that are way too focused on showing way too focused on telling and not showing. These movies go directly against that because they sort of let you in just a bit on what's going on around them. And it's funny because this is a fictional world, but I feel like I can explain to you, like, the coins mean this. This means that there's like a blood oath thing that they did in the second one, and they just continuously progress.
When they mentioned that he killed the guy with a pencil, they showcased it again. And you're like, oh my god.
That's the type of thing where they say it and you believe it. But they don't actually show it till the second one, where they're in that like subway scene. And for me, I think that these get progressively better. I think that
also the style of it too. I think that's what stood out the first couple of movies as well, just because it just looked amazing.
It's one of those things where we mentioned this on a previous episode. It must have been with Monkey Man or something. Where I said I love the John Wick movies so much. I do think this is a new age of people trying to copy the style of John Wick and maybe not always fully understanding why they work and the way that they work. But for example, like, I thought that Extraction 2 was really good, great even. And sometimes I'll see an action scene that feels like it was inspired by John Wick, but just feels very digital, like everything's really smooth and kind of all over the place. And that's sort of actually what I worried about with this movie. I saw that, do you know the production history behind it at all? No. So, going into this, if I were to ask you, do you feel like this fell in line with the rest of the series fairly well?
I would say so, at least with the first two. First and second one.
It felt a lot like the first one to me, actually. Maybe it's because she gets to talk more than John does.
Most definitely.
Yeah. But for me, I thought that I couldn't tell, but this movie kind of has a production history behind it. It was supposed to come out like a couple of years ago. They hired, I don't know why, to be honest with you, although I guess I thought this was great. They hired Len Wiseman, who was behind I'm going to double check, the Underworld series.
Huh?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, really.
Oh, those are bad. They're funny bad.
To direct this. And so, this is just a rumor. Apparently, they've dispelled this. How much of this is true? How much of it
isn't? That he directed the Underworld movies?
No. That's a fact. That is true.
Okay.
Which, I wonder if whenever there's like some scenes where everything's blue, he's like, finally, this is my safe zone.
It's like you see anybody with leather on, heck yeah, let's go.
Like, that's exactly it. Finally. Leather jackets and everything, that's my bag. But, yeah, that's weird, right? Yeah. So, like, they announced, like, just imagine, I don't know, who's another director I don't really like? Like Paul W.S. Anderson.
Yeah, that's true.
From like the Resident Evil stuff. And they're like, we got this guy to direct, I don't know, Avengers 5. I'd be like, what? Why?
But when moments like that happen, because they have happened. Like Michael Bay directing a Skibbity Toilet movie.
Hey, look, listen.
wait, but like, it's just one of those moments too, because in this movie, because in the first one, right, the director, he didn't direct anything beforehand. Right. And so nobody knew what was going to happen with this one. So
a lot of people had to take a chance on this movie. Yeah. Though. This was almost in that like direct to TV like type of, back when Netflix wasn't even doing their straight to streaming yet.
But I just like to think that there's always more people behind the scenes. It's not just the director alone.
No, for sure.
Especially in this one, I did not feel an underworld type of
no, not at all.
Vibe
Which is
whatsoever.
what I was concerned about because
Dude, thank God I didn't know because the way my expectation would have been like hella low.
Maybe that's why I was like blown away by this movie. Yeah, blown away. She blows up like 1 billion people in this. We'll talk about that later. But maybe that's why. But then I was like, oh my God, thank God. This to me is almost as good as all the other 4.
Yeah.
I think that I'm so attached to Keanu Reeves as John Wick that, but I'm also, did you watch The Continental?
No.
It was okay. It was just okay. It was like a 3-episode event about the sort of inception of The Continental and how Winston got a hold of it.
Okay.
And it was entertaining enough, but it also felt like disconnected from the actual John Wick world. It felt very pulpy and very comic booky, much like all of these do.
Yeah.
But it also felt almost like, I don't know how to explain it. Maybe it's just because the budget was different, but they didn't get the look right. I felt.
Okay.
But it's supposed to take place in like the 70s or 60s or something like that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just because, or 80s, but it just felt so out of place that I was sort of worried. I was like, okay, if the original creative team isn't back, can they still replicate the vibe, the tone of the world and everything? And the one thing I have heard about this, and I don't know how much of it is true, is they were really underwhelmed and really disappointed by the initial action scenes in the original cut of this.
Oh.
But this is just rumor again. Yeah. And so they brought in David Leitch, and they were like, look, the movie like surrounding it is fine for the most part. They're like, but the action scenes are what we need revamped and redone.
Obviously.
And honestly, I was trying to think about a John Wick movie with subpar action, and that sounds underwhelming, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it just sounds very it's unusual.
Yeah.
Especially from the very first one. You were just so shocked by like how the action sequences were made. No. And like how they were just executed as well, and like what you said too, where it's just like once these movies kept coming up and just getting popular and popular, you could see how it was integrated in so many other action movies as well, especially just fight sequences as well. Yeah.
Within the past 5 years alone, go look at even Carry On. That's not even an action movie. Look at the scene in the car in that movie and tell me that it's not inspired by both the Raid 2 and John Wick. Or if you go back to Bullet Train, or if you, which is, you know, I mean, that is them, so they kind of get that excuse. But if you go into literally any kind of style of direction lately, these are it. These are like the bar that they've set for themselves. I'm very grateful that they were able to do this, and I'm glad that we've moved past the imitation Jason Bourne thing where everything's shaky and everything's everywhere. That's why this was such a big deal when it came out in 2014, was because of the whole pivot of that. You were like, oh my God, I can see.
I can see the whole entire thing.
Not only that.
No more cuts.
The big deal in the first one is he's kind of like, they build him up just a little bit, and you're sort of like, who's this guy? Like Keanu Reeves, obviously, so we know that.
The Baba Yaga, who is that?
And
I love the fact that we're talking more about John Wick, not Ballerina.
Yeah, don't worry, we'll get to it. But that, I guess, you know what, that's set up to say, what did you love about Ballerina specifically?
I mean, it just sucks because it's like, I want it to be its own thing, but it's just so part of like this world itself that I think maybe that's what I love about this movie. It just felt like I was back into it again, but just with a different character that didn't take away from John Wick, and it was just her own movie.
That's actually my highest compliment to it, is that I felt like it was within a world that I know of really well now at this point, and did it extremely well. And
I think... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, not only that, part of you wonders if you just worry about the world because it's John Wick.
Yeah.
Or if there's more to it than that. And this confirmed to me that there's more to it than that.
Yes.
And
I think, which is great, actually, because then now I think it just opens up more doors, too. Basically showing, like, there could be other assassins along the way.
Yeah.
Maybe nothing like John Wick, but in that same world would be great to see.
Yeah.
And then you can just utilize that into like however it may be. Because I love the idea in this movie too, where she had a sister apparently. Like
that was a twist that I was not expecting.
I was like, whoa! I was like, what's happening? What?
Yeah.
And I was like, I thought they were gonna like team up or something.
No, they kill her almost
right away.
instantly. Yeah.
And I think just added more to her character because she almost had something and then got lost again. And I thought it was just like beautifully executed as well. But I think what they did a great job in this one in particular is just it time jumps you a lot in this movie to establish like she is good at what she's doing.
Yeah.
Because she's determined to do one thing and one thing only. And I think once those action sequences start to happen, you just believe that she's capable of doing such a thing.
They're so both. What separates this character from me, what makes her her own person, Ana de Armas in this, who's amazing in this, by the way. And somebody definitely saw
Ana de Armas.
Ana de Armas, yeah. Somebody that definitely saw what?
Nothing.
Somebody definitely saw No Time to Die, and they were like, that woman needs her own action movie for sure. She's in that for what, like 8 minutes total, maybe?
I agree with you.
Okay, but yeah, you agree. she got her own movie.
He did.
But I think that a lot of the necessary. I'm sure she's doing a bunch of her own stunt work. I think they do that thing where it's like, here's
but behind the scenes.
Yeah, behind the scenes, and that's like all the marketing. And then Keanu Reeves is there, even though like that fight scene, it's long enough that I'm like, all right, fine, I guess. But I'm like, he's in this movie enough to put him on the poster. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But which they did, and the one fan servicey thing I wanted to bring up was I was like, was that necessary? I was like, but you know what? I am the fan here.
Yeah.
Was whenever John Wick shows up and it cuts to him, and I don't know if like they included him last second or something because he always feels like he's like somewhere else.
Yeah.
But whenever they're like, he's just one guy, and I was like, what?
And it's like, boom, boom, boom. It's like, whoa.
Because then I was like, I guess that's needed.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's said in every movie at some point.
Yeah, I feel like it's true though.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's always someone going like, "Oh my god, that's John Wick."
Yeah.
Or it's either someone being scared or someone being so impressed by his presence. Because I think it was the third one. I don't know if it's the third or fourth one, where one of the bad guys, he's just like, "I admired your work for years."
That's 3.
That's 3, right? I really like that one.
Yeah, the guy with that he like is so excited to die by John Wick.
It's just like that was a good one too. But in this one too, they expanded more in that one side where basically people who are fostered.
I will say,
well, like became like a ballerina, but also assassins along the way too.
Yeah.
And I think it gave at least me another insight of like how somebody that is like, you know, I would say like as a woman like could utilize more of like their own capabilities in a different way than a man would.
Yeah.
And I loved how they showcased that in this.
Here's why I'm excited that you brought that up, because I've been waiting to talk about this in particular. There's a line early on where they're like, you let him set the rules for this fight. Cheat. And so much of the fighting in this.
So you approve of cheating?
No,
continue.
In a fighting capacity.
So you have to beat your women?
Me, I'm like an honest trainer. I'm like,
is this why you don't do action movies with Erwin?
well, yes, this is exactly why.
Oh, okay. Continue what you're saying.
Let my girlfriend beat me.
Yeah, I get it.
But that moment, whenever she explains that, and that sort of sets the rules for how she fights for the rest of the movie. I'm a person that really likes seeing objects being used as things to get like to hit other things. So there's a moment that I busted out laughing at. I think that people don't know how like influenced by like Charlie Chaplin.
Oh my god, I started laughing with the plates.
Because that, and then she beats her with a remote control.
Oh.
And you see a bunch of slapstick comedy on the background.
Oh, yes.
So you're like, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And there's a moment in, man, they're so connected that I'm like, which one is this? I'm pretty sure it's the beginning of 3, where you see that first big stunt that ever happened, where the guy's like hanging off the clock tower, and you see it like projected on.
Oh, I think it's the third one.
Yeah, and these movies like wear their influence on their sleeves. Essentially, sometimes it derails into like we talked about. How also weirdly people don't know how much I feel the Looney Tunes are influential.
I love Looney Tunes,
and sometimes I get that out of action movies. And
where'd you get that bomb?
No, because there's a moment in this. It's one of the
Final Destination is where it's very Looney Tunes.
Yeah, that's true. But that's Tom and Jerry.
Oh, no, Tom and Jerry.
Okay, but you gotta admit you can easily see Bugs Bunny like holding like 10 grenades and like.
That's what I just think. Yeah, I get it.
It's like Roadrunner. And like, they do like a Looney Tunes back in action, but they're involved in the John Wick world.
Oh my god,
that'd be dude.
Makes me want to watch Looney Tunes now.
That's such a good idea. But of course, I've got to ask you, as is par for the course for each of these types of movies. Did you like the action in this, and what were some of your favorite moments?
Oh man, I think my favorite ones are probably. I think my favorite one was whenever she first went into like her first mission.
I love that.
That
scene,
one was really good.
Yeah,
it was so. I think that one's probably my favorite. And then right after it's whenever she was in like Switzerland or something.
Yeah. Oh, you know what part of this movie made me think about you, because I know that you like let's say I love this too, but I remember you specifically said this in one of our reviews that you love. Oh, it was The Amateur of all things. That you love training sequences and stuff.
Yes.
I loved that you got to see someone progress in this world from level 0, essentially.
Yes, that was great.
And not only that, she goes through missions before she's allowed to do anything. Of course, she goes rogue. She pulls in Ethan Hunt, but she's like, I don't want
I mean, who wouldn't do that?
Yeah.
I do that.
I don't want to listen to you anymore. And I loved that a lot, that you got to see. I think the reason why that first fight also works so well is because you're so conditioned to seeing Keanu Reeves' character do everything perfectly. I'm like, why doesn't she use like the pick thing, like with the ice? Because he would have done it instantly.
Oh, because the fact that she was given a gun with rubber bullets.
I love that.
That was such a great thing to utilize as well.
Yeah, but oh my god, I wish they would have shown it, but the way they do this, where it cuts to 2 months later after that, where it shows the aftermath of a fight.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, damn, I kind of wish I would have gotten to see it, but the payoff of it is that you see her like looking at herself in the mirror and she has like the glass and whatever. You can piece together what happened because we've seen.
But it just shows a lot, like her progression as somebody who's, done so many missions, it seems.
Yeah. And
how well she's gone, or like how better she's gone along the way.
No, and this is going to sound so redundant to say. This reminded me so much of something that happens in the John Wick movie. She walks out and yet another car comes out and hits her. And the part that I liked about that so much is this moment where she breaks his arm through the door and then takes like an axe or something and then like smashes his face in. I think that she's a lot.
My audience was like, ugh.
Oh yeah. Did you get that with like people where they like react to really violent things that happen? Yeah. And I think that what separates this character and that character, because do you feel like I'm not just watching a John Wick clone? I feel like I'm watching somebody in this world.
Yes, I did feel that way.
Yeah.
But I feel like they're getting to the point now where they're probably going away from John Wick.
Yeah.
And just getting more so like people in this world. And I definitely believe in now with this movie out and just seeing more so that I want to see more, because clearly this world is so big, and we're capable of just seeing other assassins along the way going through their own ways.
No, because I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, I could see her meeting Halle Berry for whatever reason at some point, or just brand new people.
I'd love to see Halle Berry.
Where was she in the third one? Where was that at? Oh, that guy. I want to see him as well again. The guy with the dog, the tracker guy.
Oh yeah.
I loved him in the fourth one.
Yeah.
I can just see all these people meeting at some point or another, or they always introduce new types of really cool people.
Yeah.
Each and every single movie, where I don't mind if this franchise sort of overtakes.
Build up to it where it's like an Avengers type movie.
Well, I mean, they sort of create their own world.
Yeah.
Would John Wick come back from the dead and he'd be like, oh, I'm here.
I'm here now.
And then I feel like if he shows up, everybody's like, oh shit, he's got 9, never mind.
Yeah.
And I also loved, I think that it's funny because now at this point with these movies, I get so excited not just to see John Wick, but to see Winston, to see Ian McShane's character, and to see rest in peace Lance Reddick one more time, where you're like, oh, I love that. You're like, I love that he's in this. It makes sense. I think that it's one of those things where usually you get sort of annoyed at world building to try and spin off into something else. But I think this world just lends itself to it.
Yeah, I think it's because of the fact that it's like it's in this world and it showcases like, okay, here are places that could be in the same world, especially with like the Continental and then like John Wick showing up. But then she devolves into her own lane as well. And I like the fact that at the very end of the movie, she is also becoming very like popular in the sense that everyone's knowing who she is now.
Yeah, I mean, it ends in almost the exact same way as any of the John Wick movies do, where it's like, here's the bounty on this person, and she walks out, and I was like, oh, okay, I see. I don't know, but the only thing that I worry about is I'm like, we can't just repeat the same formula again, can we? I think for an entirely different series.
Yeah.
But the reason why I think this worked so well and felt different to me is there's new settings. I loved, by the way, this has another cult involved in it. I loved how they're included in this. I thought that is actually really fascinating to me.
I love like the little things like you could see in the classroom.
Yes, there was
like
bullet,
the anatomy of a gun.
Yeah.
I was like, what the heck is this?
I thought that was these movies are so fucking good at just showing you things.
Yeah.
And they're not like, why is that there? Or like, nobody wants to explain anything to you. And I think the nature of that is so great. Oh, you know what? I think that the entire like last half hour is probably my favorite action scene. It also does the typical John Wick thing where the last half of it is just one very long extended sort of fight. But the one where she shoves that lady in the freezer.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. I loved that entire fight so much because the setup for it is whenever they're looking around and then she realizes that the entire town is in on it because they're taking the kids inside and everything. And I was kind of hoping that they would do like a child assassin thing, because you know how in John Wick 2 when they revealed just how many people around him are assassins, and I always think the baby's gonna turn its head, but it never does.
And that cult maybe.
Yeah, but I thought that was
great.
It was awesome, right? Because part of you wonders, okay, how much of the world could possibly be assassins? Like what, 60% of you guys?
Yeah, it's like, what the heck is that? That's a lot.
But I really liked, also, she's in the third one briefly, and I think it's Angelica Houston as the leader of the ballet.
Oh, yes.
And
was she in the second one?
To be honest with you, I only remember her in the third one because of the whole, like, your ticket is torn.
Oh, yeah.
They show that scene again, but from a different perspective. It makes me wonder if they filmed this simultaneously with that, or if like they had that idea already, or if they just refilmed some of that.
It's probably refilmed.
I don't know, to be honest with you, but I also liked that whenever you would think that this movie might have too much of a reliance on using Keanu Reeves because he's there. He's like, you definitely know that if they were wanting to, they could have easily cut to him for an entire 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
They could have pulled the Book of Boba Fett if they wanted to, and they just didn't do that.
Yeah.
And I liked that a lot because I liked that they were also like, no, we need to make people understand that, yes, John Wick is the end-all, be-all. That every time he shows up, everybody's like, oh, great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. And so I like that whenever, like you said, she shows up more and more throughout this movie, they're like, why will this problem not just go away?
Yeah.
And I thought that was so great. There's one moment in this that they also kind of repeat from the first one that I was hoping they did, because this guy starts going on his monologue about, he's like, you don't understand, you'll never understand. And then she, like, interrupts him by shooting him in the head.
Wait, when?
Whenever he's like, don't you know that you're interrupting towards the third act, like the villain of this.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and I was like, why is she letting him talk for so long? I'm surprised that, and then she just shoots him in the head. And I was like, there it is. But you know who else is great in this?
Who?
Norman Reedus.
Oh, he was barely in the movie though. I thought he was gonna be in it more.
I felt like
just from the trailer.
Yeah. I don't know if they were. Part of me was like, are they banking on like his marketability? Because I don't know if he's like at that level anymore.
I mean, he was in music video Judas with Lady Gaga.
He was in Death Stranding, and he was also
in that one zombie show.
He's still on The Walking Dead, I think. Come on,
come on, man.
He's got that look still. That's for sure.
He's got that look.
Yeah, but I mean, I would love to see him in more of these. I thought he was gonna die, honestly, with you in this one. These movies have the level of stakes where people do just die, so I was sort of like waiting for that. But you know what's funny is I didn't think that he'd have a kid with him specifically because you know how they're like, oh, he's got a sweet tooth, I guess. Every one of these assassins has just one random like thing about them that I thought that was actually genuinely going to be like his character trait. That he really liked ice cream or something.
I get it.
But I love that. Honestly, do you have any particular negatives or anything with this?
Not really.
No?
I just think that I don't know. I can only see a negative for like others just being like it's just like the same type of movie just with Ana de Armas now.
Yeah.
But at the end, like, it's just so entertaining, and it is. I do think it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Than the John Wick movies, just because you actually got to see more of who this character was in the beginning. But other than that, like, I can't think of any negatives that
You also got to see people interact with other people within this world, and you're so used to
actually talk.
Yeah,
and John Wick just go,
No, I'm pretty sure this movie has more dialogue than like probably the first two combined.
Yeah.
Which is something that you're not used to, really. Oh my god, there's a couple of one-liners in this movie that I was like, that's awesome. But there's this one where the guy is doing the whole, I love this, by the way, it's a subversion of expectation where it's the whole like, I need a gun, and then he's like, here's my whole, are you looking to get a tailored suit or whatever, and they're like speaking in code. And I love that they interrupt them in the middle of that and this, and then it extends into this whole fight.
Oh, like when they're going down.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
With like all the grenades and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that scene too. That was great.
I think the grenade thing, by the way, incredible use of flamethrowers in this movie. Yeah. I never thought I'd see something like a fire hose used as a weapon.
Yeah.
But that fight is awesome.
Hey, what about the one was the fourth one? John Wick? Where he used a flamethrower?
The dragon's breath thing? That wasn't a flamethrower. That was a dragon's breath ammo.
Oh. Was it the fourth one, though?
If you're talking about where it's that overhead shot, that's the fourth one.
Okay.
But I don't know what else you could possibly do that could top that shot in that movie. That
was a great.
Yeah.
I still remember you saying that, and I was like, what?
Yeah, no, I think after we're done with this, I might go watch the fourth one again. I gotta watch Love Island, though. But
I gotta watch Love Island. I can see Love on the Spectrum.
And then John Wick 4.
And John Wick 4.
But honestly, I don't really have too many negatives. I just didn't want to give it a perfect score, I guess, just because. But
yeah. I don't know, maybe because it just didn't have a... I feel like if it just had like a sequence or something that I just like, genuinely loved, that could just top at least the last two John Wick movies, then I could see it.
I think for me,
it just reminded me so much of the first two.
A lot of the fights in this fit within the first three. 4 is operating at 100 every second though, so that's kind of like that's the only hurdle this movie has to overcome is like you're getting out of John Wick 4, which I think is a perfect movie. Yeah. Actually, I think most of I think this is a perfect franchise right here. But I also love the natural progression. But now we're in like a different part of the world, and you're sort of getting acclimated to the new people that are in this. And of course, I love the interactions that the characters have with other people. It's interesting because you don't really realize that they do have personality until you see them interact with other people. And you're like, this feels natural and seamless. Like these are the same people that they were when they filmed this, like 3-4 years ago. But overall, I mean, this movie's incredible, I think. What did you think of it?
Yeah, same thing. I don't know. It's insane how, like what you said earlier, where it's just how action movies were shot beforehand. Now it's just being so emulated, like other movies trying to become like this. Yeah. Just like action sequences as well. Just trying to showcase like long formats. Yeah. And just like wide shots and just trying to showcase as much as you can now. And I think it's great, to be perfectly honest.
The reason why I think the whole idea of them being ballerinas works in the first place is because people call these movies balletic. They do have a very coordinated like if you were to do the stunt rehearsals for stuff like this, it is almost essentially the same sort of physical commitment to something like that, where it's a lot of rehearsal, it's a lot of...
I've seen Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, that too, yeah.
The lightsaber duel.
I missed that type of action in those, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But that type of like, I grab your arm here, you twist this way, but it's in this sort of like action way, or Keanu Reeves saying like, okay, I gotta fall down 40 flights of stairs.
Me telling my sister what to do. That's like 5 and 6 years old.
Like, I'm the Undertaker. You're the Rock.
She's like, and she didn't hear anything you said because she had her headphones in. And you're just like, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, what are you doing?
She's eating her poster. You're like,
I had a situation.
I'm the Undertaker. Her just listening to music.
You're like making like a wrestling. It's just like.
She's on the ground like this, passed out.
Just doing the Peter Griffin Family Guy thing. I had a scenario like that happened with my sister when I was younger, where I guess she didn't know that like I was like what 12 at the time, I think.
Yeah.
But she like started running after me.
Yeah.
And I grabbed her, and I was trying to throw her, like, onto the bed.
Yeah.
I threw her past the bed, and she, like, flew straight over. And, I mean, I wasn't like, I'm the Undertaker, but I was like, my bad.
So you abuse women.
That's my sister.
That doesn't count, you're right.
Overall, what's your score?
4.5 out of 5.
I also gave this a 4.5 out of 5. Something I noticed that I thought was interesting was... Lionsgate. I don't know if they were worried about this movie because they did something that I do not approve of and I don't like. They only wanted people that had positive things to say about the movie to let their reviews go out first.
Oh.
They did it like...
What did you expect that from, like,
stagnant?
anyone?
Huh?
Wouldn't any studio do that, or no?
No. If you're a studio... and you want people to trust in, you know, your marketing and your opinion, you don't do that. Yeah. You're like, all right, you know what? Let's get everybody that, whatever they think, if we're going to do the review embargo early, let's go ahead and just release it all at once. If the reviews will speak for themselves.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Typically, what they'll do, if they don't trust it, is they'll get influencers and stuff to be like, oh my god, this movie's amazing. Because, you know, they were paid to be there in the first place. And they're like, oh my god, I'm a micro-celebrity, whatever.
A micro-celebrity?
Yeah.
Oh, because they're
influencers or whatever.
Nah.
Some of them are actual celebrities, but some of them are like, you know.
Jason Derulo.
He's a singer.
Yeah, he's a celebrity, right?
Yeah. Compared to, I'm trying to think of a micro-celebrity that's on my head. Somebody with like, I don't know, maybe 80,000 TikTok followers, something like that, I would feel.
I don't know.
Everything's a numbers game now. But I just don't like that because it shows sort of trying to trick the system a little bit. Because let's say this movie's, I actually noticed, I think people got annoyed by that because it was at like 85% on Rotten Tomatoes, something like that, but then dropped off all the way down to like 71.
Oh, dang.
And then climbed back to like 78% as it is right now. And so I think it was like people annoyed that like, all the negative ones had to come after, but then people were like, oh, but I loved it. So they were like...
What the heck? That's crazy.
So yeah. I mean, I know people say like, don't put all your stock in Rotten Tomatoes, whatever. It's just something that I find interesting that I don't want studios to make a trend.
I think just probably because of the fact that a lot of movies nowadays, especially when you have a female leading actress, that I guess, you know, if you put 2 and 2 together, you can see that how it just doesn't make enough money, and so I'm pretty sure they were just worried about that.
I'm sure they're worried about that, but I'm also surprised that this audience, I want to clarify, we're not these people. We make fun of people like this that are like, I can't believe that they made a woman the lead right now.
Yeah.
Also seem to love this movie. I don't know where the exception is in that rule. I don't know what makes you hate one thing and like another thing.
And you're like, other movies have like are female led and it still makes money.
Something tells me it's because of how attractive they find a specific actress, but no?
That's very suspicious of what you just said.
Is it suspicious?
Yes. Sus.
It's calculated to me is what it is. But
you
overall...
You said you approved of cheating.
I said I approved of cheating and fighting.
That's it. That's all I'm going to cut it. I approve of cheating.
Oh, man. I don't want to.
And I'm going to cut that too. I don't want to.
No.
And there it is too. And then you abusing women, apparently.
You're the one that keeps saying this.
I just saw. Whoa.
Jesus. Overall, yeah, I love this movie a lot.
Me too.
That Keanu Reeves Angel movie looks good.
Oh, yes. I can't wait to see him again.
Yeah. And Seth Rogen. Yeah. Now I'm excited for that. But what's up next?
I don't know. Oh, How to Train Your Dragon.
I don't know how to do that.
Oh, I know how to train your dragon.
Does he?
Does he? We'll find out.
And there's one other one. It's a movie I'm really excited for.
Materialist.
Materialist, yeah, which I've heard is also amazing. I've heard that they're both great. So
I'm excited.
I'm excited for both of those as well. It's funny because I was just complaining about somebody saying they prefer romance. You can be multifaceted and like everything.
Yeah, you can.
I like rom-coms a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Overall, what are they gonna do?
They're gonna like, comment, and subscribe.
Please do. There. What did you think of From the World of John Wick, Ballerina, a John Wick tale, a John Wick story, whatever the hell they're called, Solo, a Star Wars story, and all that?
I was a ballerina.
Sorta, I guess. I hope that if you were to ever go to that... Also, do they actually perform for people?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Well, no, that was the one that got kicked out, and then she became an actual ballet star.
I assume.
I assumed so, too. I kind of hope that they show that at some point. I mean, they're obviously going to make another one of these, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Would you want to see another one of these?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I want to see like 5 more of these.
Yeah. Make as many as you can.
Yeah. There's going to be a day where you're like, this one was kind of like repetitive and like the other ones, but that day has not come yet.
Yeah.
And
not yet. Till that day.
Yeah. As long as they keep making really interesting characters, I think that's actually what's important.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening and watching. We will see you next time.